If I had a dollar for every time an ADHDer told me that they had a certain planner system that worked brilliantly for them for about 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden, mysteriously, it just stopped working, just like that, I would be a bazillionaire. My name is Karen McGill. I'm an ADHD coach and creator, and I'm here for the busy, ambitious brains who use planners for about 2 weeks, and then somehow magically it stops working. And in today's video, I'm not only going to explain to you why that is, I'm also going to share my strategy for actually sticking with a planner system for almost 4 years now. Y'all, I have been with the same planner system for 4 years, and it has worked for me. Well, most of the time. But if you watched the video I posted about 2 weeks ago about needing to freshen things up in my life, then you will know that my planner is actually the best place for me to start when I want to make bigger life changes, because I have, and this is a big part of it, built a skill around using my planner to actually craft, design, and execute the life that I want. But sometimes things get stale, and that is one very big reason why our planners stop working for us. But before I get ahead of myself, let's start with the number one reason why planners only work for us for about 2 weeks and then stop. Okay, here's the situation. People with ADHD have interest-driven brains. That means that we can do things all day long as it's interesting for us. But here's two really important limitations around that system. Number one, things that are interesting to our brain are not always the things that we should be doing. Interesting might be binging Netflix or playing video games or doing anything other than the task we're supposed to be doing at any given moment. And number two, interest is not sustainable for the ADHD brain, meaning we get sick of things very easily, so we need an awful lot of novelty. And that is the reason why most planners work for us for about 2 weeks and then stop working, because the planner itself is neither working nor not working. It was just that we were running off the empty fumes of novelty. And once that wore off, so did any interest we had in using that planner system. So once again, we're back at square one, wondering why we can't seem to stick with anything when it comes to planning and executing on our goals. Until today, that is, because I'm now going to share with you what actually works in terms of adopting a planning system and using it not just for a week or a month, but year after year after year, as I have finally figured out how to do for myself. And you want to know what the secret is to having a planning system that will last for years and years? It might shock you. Lean in close. You ready for this? It has nothing to do with the actual planner that you choose. It has to do with the skill that you build. I know. You might be thinking, womp womp. You wanted me to tell you about some super fancy AI-driven planning system that does all the work for you. And I apologize for bursting that bubble, but it really doesn't have much to do with the tool itself. It does have everything to do with the skill you build around it. And unfortunately, we're not really taught how to develop this skill for ourselves in school. And if nobody's teaching you this skill, then there's no reason why you should know it, because it's not really a natural thing for anyone, much less a very busy-brained ADHDer. So let me break this down for you, because I think it's going to make you feel a lot better about all of the past planning escapades that you've had that haven't lasted. So when it comes to productivity and planning in general, which is very important, by the way. In my opinion, it's the highest form of self-care to take the time to plan your week in advance, actually check the plan throughout the week, do the things you say you're going to do, and at the end of the week, give yourself a little pat on the back for getting it all done, because that is actually how you build a life of your own making. But let's keep the life coachy stuff to the side for a sec and talk about the practicalities of building a productivity system that will actually work for you. And it doesn't start with the tool itself. It actually starts with being very clear on what is most important to you in this season of life. And I think that this is why my system has supported me so well. And I'm not even talking about just being consistent with the system. I'm talking about the results I've gotten from this system. The system I use has helped me build the business that I have, be consistent with YouTube. I think I'm up to like 130,000 subscribers at this point. It has helped me build an amazing podcast and a suite of products for my ADHD audience, and most recently, a community of ADHD business owners. So this has really been the system that has changed my life, I would say, in the last 4 years. That's not an overstatement by any means. And up until a couple of weeks ago, this system has been working really well for me. However, like all things with the ADHD brain, over time, the novelty wears off. And I'm finding myself in that situation right now, such that my system has become almost like a white noise. It becomes boring. And when that happens, that's when I start being inconsistent. I stop planning on Sundays. I stop reviewing on Fridays, and I stop checking my plan throughout the week. So that's what brings me to today, or maybe a couple of weeks ago, when I shared that I need to start changing things up in my life and resparkalizing things because they're getting a little dry and boring. So rather than me saying to you, ta-da, here's my new template and system, I thought what I would do is walk you through my thinking process. So this is less of a technical tutorial and more of a, here's what's going on in my brain when I feel like my planning system is starting to get a little tired and I'm starting to lose that consistency and momentum that I've had for a long time. So let me show you what I did when I was on vacation last week and really just thinking about this from the standpoint of what in my life needs to change right now and how can I get my planning system to reflect those new priorities. So I started with a simple list of what are the things that are important to me right now. The one thing that I'm thinking is most important to me in this season of work is having a simplified strategy and then a process for implementation and tracking. So I need to build that in so that it's more intentional. Because let's be honest, I can say that I have a strategy and a plan, but if it's not actually written out in front of my face in terms of what it is I'm going to do, I'm going to forget it's there and just move on with the things that I generally do. So if you want to create change in your life, you actually need to plan out what that change is going to be and put it into your implementation system so it actually gets done. Now I want to address the second most important thing when it comes to building out your productivity system. And this is really the skill part. Imagine a master carpenter who had all the skill in the world, but really crappy tools. That carpenter is still going to produce way better results than a crappy carpenter who has top of the line tools, right? In that respect, it's not about the tools as much as it is about the skill and that muscle memory of using the tools wisely and effectively, right? So now we want to think about our skill as it relates to any tool that we might pick. And I think that the major skill that all of us need to build is, first of all, the skill of tracking what's most important, which we just reviewed, and then either finding a productivity system like out of the box that will help you track those things, or building something of your own, which is my preferred method. I have the vision to action system that you can use for your personal life, and the organized business, which I used for my business and continue to use. And everything in that template is still relevant. It's just how that data appears needs to change because my priorities have shifted and my strategy and plan is hopefully shifting and the things I want to track have shifted. So I think if we were to boil down the essence of this entire video in one sentence, it's that whatever is most important to you, think of that as a data display and then ask yourself, how do I need to organize this data so that my brain sees it every day? It remembers it's there and it's important that I need to track it. And at the end of the week, I have a system for metabolizing everything that's happened and making thoughtful decisions about what I'm going to do next week. So that is part of the skill of understanding what's most important and making sure that you have the structure in place to keep it going. But the other part of the skill, which is perhaps even more important, is actually engaging in the structure you've created. So whatever system that you've decided is going to work for your brain, now you need to build the skill of actually planning your week in advance with some intention and then actually going back to that plan and executing from it. And that in and of itself is such a valuable skill. It's the skill of building healthy habits that move you in the direction that you want to go. And then perhaps the last skill is the skill of reflection, where you've executed a full week of your plan and you're looking back at it saying, okay, this is what went well. This is what didn't go well. These are my wins. Yay me. Now, I need to digest all of the things that happened this week, think about my greater objective, where it is I want to go and what's most important to me, and then use all of that information to plot out the following week. And the more you plan and the more you execute your plan, whether it goes to plan or not, the more you start to trust yourself to actually get things done. And that has a huge impact on your self-esteem, on your ability to start things and follow through. And it really is a big life-changing mechanism. But for me, it's like, okay, I just need to move the pieces around the playing board a little bit so that my brain thinks it's new and can start reorganizing information in a way that works for me. So anyways, that is what I'm going to do right now. And instead of walking you through the whole thing, I'm just going to tour you through what my template currently looks like. Then I'm going to go through the process of messing around with it and creating something new, and then I'll show you what the end result looks like. If you guys have been around here for a minute, you've probably already seen this, but at the top of every week, I create a new weekly layout, and that pulls in all of the data that's important to me in the season of life that I'm in. And this is pretty much the one that I've been using for the past 4 years. Until now, I've had like all of this data about my personal strengths and values and stuff like that, the vision I have for my business and when I know I'm being successful. I'm not using these things. So I know that those things have to go because they're taking up the most important real estate on my page. Then I've got current projects. And I think I need to keep this the way it is for now, but I think I need to tweak my project template because right now it's not very helpful. It's just sort of like a mishmash of materials and it's not something that I can work with. I've got my current goals here, but I'm not actually working on goals. I'm working on projects that support goals. So I don't know that I even need to keep my current goals in front of me. I love this. I've started adding in like 3 priorities for the week, and I found it super helpful. And then I've also put in this little quote here that I just put from time to time a new quote in. And I love this one. Stop trying to fix a life you really don't want. That one hits hard, eh? And then I've got my to-do list in the form of a calendar. Every day I do a little daily story. So it's just like a little journal prompt of like, what I'm doing or what I'm thinking about or how I'm feeling. And then these are the habits that I track. And then down here is my content calendar. And then down here at the end of the week, I track my wins, I do a little journaling, and I do a little reflection. I think my reflection questions need to change, and this is just generally where I write notes throughout the week. I feel like some of these things need to stay, like my to-do list is working for me. I want to keep my daily stories, and I still want to track habits, but I need to change which habits they are. I definitely need to change my content plan, but I think that that's going to be a work in progress and where I try different things and see if they work. So it's still the same information in the same database. I'm just remixing it and retooling it so it feels new and exciting, and my brain will look forward to actually using it again. So on that note, I'm going to get into some playing around here, and then I will show you where I end up. All right. Here's the final layout, or as it exists right now. Probably needs a bit more tweaking over time, but I don't want to change too much all at once. I'll just show you briefly what I've done. There was a lot more properties here of things I wasn't actually tracking, so I just got rid of them, and it's a lot cleaner. Instead of having like my vision and strengths and weaknesses, all those things up top because I wasn't looking at them, what I've now put up top are things that I need to access on the regular. So my projects and goals, or everything to do with my ADHD Business Hub, which is a community I have for business owners and coaches who have ADHD. My business dashboard, like everything that I work on every single day is in this dashboard. It's also included in the Organized Business if you're interested in that template, and also the Organized Coach Hub. And then my life dashboard, which is just everything that I use for my regular life, like my dog's medications or things that I'm doing on ancestry.com. By the way, I've just started using that. It's so good. So having these things at the ready makes it easier for me to get to them right away, as opposed to having to go into search or click around in my Notion setup. I kept my weekly priorities because I really love having this front and center. I also kept this little quote area. I will change up the quote every once in a while. My to-do list works great the way it is. But the other thing I mentioned that I really wanted to do differently was put strategy front and center. So while I still have my stories and my wellness habits that I'm tracking, what I've included here are my business metrics. So the things that I'm committing to doing on the regular that move the dial on my business. So I'm going to track how much I'm spending every day on meta ads, if I'm doing that, what I'm sharing on Instagram, and what my daily revenue is. And then I also have weekly metrics, which is my Instagram views, my YouTube views, any news email subscribers that I get, any blog posts that I do, and my video that I publish to YouTube, and also my podcast as well. So these are things that I can measure that I am in control of. I'm really not in control of views, but I am in control of the content that I put out, which then influences the views that I get. So I think that this is going to be super handy, and these just didn't need to take up as much real estate. And then for now, my content is in the same format, and then I will eventually change my reflection questions, but I'm going to keep this as is for now. So like I said, it didn't require a huge overhaul, but these small tweaks are going to keep what's most important front and center for me, so that hopefully it helps me with behavior change and doing the things that I want to do now in order to get the outcomes I want to get down the road. So there you have it, guys. If you want the most practical and tactical way to change your life for the better, start building the intentional skill of planning. And that, of course, as I mentioned, starts with understanding what's most important to you and what you need to track and plan in order to achieve what you want to do, and then organizing your planning system in such a way that your brain sees the most important things front and center every day, and then building that habit of checking your plan and executing it every day and reviewing your weeks until you get to the point of where you want to go. So I hope you found this helpful. And of course, if you'd like to explore Vision Action or the Organized Business, then they are both listed down below. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.